How's it going, guys? It's Brad from Headbangers Podcast. Today we've got Jeff from Possessed. Obviously, iconic name. Everyone knows who Possessed are. The band that started it all with death metal with seven churches. We dive into that and just how it felt at the time to create something so groundbreaking. As well as obviously Jeff was involved in the scene in the 80s, so we got to talk about a lot of stories involving him and various thrash bands and what they got up to at the time. We talk a lot about other stuff, what he's writing now, and just his time and what he's got up to in his life. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. If you like the podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're watching on streaming services, leave us a rating, does help us out in the algorithm. And without further ado, here's the episode. Welcome back to the Headbangers Podcast, where your hosts Nathan and Brad. Here today we're joined by a true godfather of death metal. It is Jeff from Possessed. How are you doing, man? Start off with.
Hey, I'm doing well, man. I'm just glad to be here.
Oh,
I'm glad
honestly,
we
it's a
set this up.
genuine pleasure. Genuine pleasure, honestly. Um, I want to get started with a little icebreaker. What's your funniest gig or tour story that you can recall? It can be from the early days, can be from recently. Like, what's one moment that sticks out to you in your career?
Oh God, most. I mean, not to be weird, but most of the really good stuff is X-rated. So, but all right. So
We're
my
all
old
friends here, man.
drummer,
Don't worry.
yeah, my old drummer, Emilio, he was you know, he liked to smoke, and so, but he was always kind of really overbearing. A lot of us uh Mexicans, Mexicanos, we get overbearing and macho. He's like, he was on this trip, he's all like, hi, he's like, oh, everybody give us your passports, right? We're in Germany. Give us your passports. That way nobody will lose them. I'll have them all at once. I will be the keeper of the flame. I will keep all the passports. We're like, stop, man. Like, I got my passport. And he just kept going on and on and on all tour long. So finally, I'm just like, fuck it, give him your passport, right? Literally, like 3 minutes later, he comes up, Jeff, I lost the passport. so we're like, how can you possibly lose everybody's passport in 3 minutes, right? So we're retract. It's like I have to get down to like stoner mode, and I'm like, okay, let's retrace your steps.
Have
The
to think
dude,
like him.
yeah, exactly. We went through McDonald's. He put the passports in the McDonald's bags and threw them in the McDonald's trash in the drive-through. So we
No.
had to dig through the trash and found him. But yeah. Or I think there's a kind of a famous time where we all bought these pentagram necklaces, right? And everybody who bought one of those fuckers, like, oh, is it okay to cuss here?
Oh yeah. It's completely fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So every time, okay, fuck. No, I'm just kidding. So uh, everybody who bought one and put one on, something horrible happened to. Like Larry shish kebabbed his hand. We had made this, but it was weird. Like, and so we were in Arizona. I think we were playing on Megadeth or something, and we all just were like, we're talking about like all the bad shit that's been happening to us. Toby got left behind, like a whole bunch of stuff, like a series of mishaps. So we all just like, and threw them out the window, and then everything went good. But I swear to God, those necklaces cursed us.
That's crazy.
But
There's
Was it
someone
like
out
every
there
single
that
one of
found
you?
them.
yeah. Oh, and then there's the story about partying with Dave Mustaine. This is pretty good. I don't know. I don't want Dave to get mad at me because I love Dave, right? But we were playing with Slayer and Megadeth, I think. And this is like 85, maybe 85 to 86. And me and Dave, like, I love Dave when he partied. Like, I don't think he should ever got sober because he was fun as shit. Like, it was rowdy. But we were, getting high and, and smoking a little weed and drinking some Jack Daniels. And we had a bunch of girls in my hotel room, and we're just partying and we ran out of rolling papers. So Dave's like, and Junior is just out by the truck throwing up the whole time. Like, I never saw him the entire night, right? You just see him out there like being weird, sitting in the front of the truck with the light on. Like he never came in. Like, like cocaine's a dangerous drug. But anyway, so Dave's like, I don't want to be like we're like going hard. He's like, I want to like sound rude, but do you young ladies have a tampon? All these tampons come out, and Dave like fixes the tampon up and rolls a big joint that says Tampax on the side, right? So we're
No.
smoking a joint that says Tampax on the side. That's like, no, you can use Bible paper, but you have to use revelation. So we were like rolling scripture and smoking it. And then I started thinking like, fuck man, it's like 2:30 in the morning. Like I gotta play with Slayer tomorrow. Like I gotta try to sleep a little. And so we were outside and then I ran back in and shut the door and locked it and jumped in bed, turned out the lights and put the covers over my head like a little kid. And Dave's all, open up. It's Dave Mustaine. And I'm like, oh, I hiding under them. Because, we were just teenagers. But Dave was cool, man. Like, this is no disrespect to Dave. Dave is fucking cool. So,
That's awesome, man. Yeah, because there's obviously like, you hear about like those early days about like the thrash era and everything that went down, but but I can imagine that the documentaries and stuff don't really give it justice to what it was actually like. So that's super cool. I could listen to these stories all day, man, for sure.
oh, yeah, man. It was a while. As much as the 80s were great, that like a lot of kids go, I wish I had a time machine. I said, no, I don't want that for you. Because, the 80s were like the biggest depression in America. Like there was so much crime and like poverty, like the steel mill closed down. There wasn't shit to do. Like seriously, like you could join the military. There's the Chevron oil refinery, which was what most people did. The steel mill closed down, so all the jobs were gone. You could stand on the picket line. People would pay like in beer to stand on the picket line. You could join a gang, maybe rise. I mean, like it was like bikers were like real heroes, like the biker gangs, and so and I still kind of think I still definitely think they're super cool, but I didn't choose that path. I wasn't tough enough, and I didn't want to join a street gang because I I I wasn't like I'm not trying to fight. There was enough fighting anyway, so I started a band, and that was like my way out, and so, and that's the same with, I don't want to speak for Gary, but Gary was the same way. We were all, you know, half criminals, like you did what you did to survive. And, but music was like it was cool just to go into that fantasy down in the basement. And, originally I had no intention of even playing a gig, right? It's the 79. It's just turning the 80s. And it was just fun to play a rock star in the basement, right? So that was good. But then my sister got a first gig at a party, a biker party, and I was hooked. And like everybody was like, you should go to junior college. And I was like, people like me don't go to college. And you need a backup plan, right? And it seemed like when the whole world was full of shit, there was a way to fight the shit, through music. You could yell about whatever you wanted, whether it be politics or religion or whatever. And it just seemed like a perfect thing to me. Like I definitely put all my eggs in one basket, put it that way. So, and that was, but I wouldn't want, for kids to go back. A lot of drugs, a lot of violence, a lot of. I think in Oakland it was like, in the 80s there was like at least 200 murders in a little town a year, a little city a year. It was just not a good time, but the metal was great, so.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Well, I mean, getting
Mhm.
into that, like, obviously Seven Churches, like, we got to jump into that because did you ever feel like back then that you were creating a new genre? Obviously, you coined the term death metal on that album, but did you think you were creating a new genre then, or were you just wanting to play like the heaviest, fastest shit you
No,
could do?
no, listen, man. People, when they're still doing it to me, they've done this all my life, and I know it sounds vainglorious but it's the truth. Like it wasn't coining a term. We were actively a death metal band. We did it intentionally. We're a death metal band. We were apples to oranges different. Because remember, it would be like taking the heaviest death metal band now and starting it out of context with no bands behind it. So Possessed was that much different. You know what I mean? It was like
Yep.
it was too much back then, and not and for some people maybe not enough today to be, they still call it thrash, but all first wave by very definition is rooted in thrash. But it's definitely promoting ourselves as a death. I'm not mad or anything. I'm just passionate. Initially I thought I'd be the only death metal band, and I was the only death metal band on the planet for almost 2 years. And people were trying to hyphenate me and saying death metal wasn't a thing. And you sound like shit. You sound like a dog barking or a cookie monster. You
He's
can't
laughing now
understand the
though.
music. It's just fucking noise. And even among my contemporaries, my peers, I wasn't getting like a lot of respect for what I was doing. So it wasn't like, yeah, I'm in a death metal band. It was a real struggle for the art, and it was actively trying to promote death metal, like Possessed as a death metal band. You know what I mean? Because Venom had black metal, there was thrash metal with a bunch of guys, and with the exception of the few uber hard thrash bands, back then thrash was so cookie cutter. It was like every band sounded exactly the same to me. It sounded like they were all doing the same thing, and they were half a poser hair band. Like, and I know that sounds stupid because it's not a talent thing. It's just like a kid thing. Like thrash wasn't getting it for me. You know what I mean? Like it was turning into this commercial, like big hair, like hooks and spandex thing, and I just wanted to like play as fast and satanic and heavy as possible. And the way to brand ourselves was to call Possessed a death metal band, and that was it, man. That was a Kiss has their makeup, Priest has their spikes, and that was our hook, that was our hook, so that
When
was our
did you think
spiel.
when did you think the moment came then? Because like obviously, me and Nathan growing up, we got into metal, in the late 2000s. Like that was our time. And we knew Possessed like Seven Churches to be the first death metal album. Like we knew that you guys were the first death metal band. So how long did it take for you guys to like get that recognition that you deserved? Like that you were the first death metal band?
We've never got it, in my opinion. uh, People either love Possessed or they fucking hate us, you know what I mean? There's never any in between, like, and it's like, but I am happy with my lot in life. I feel very blessed, because to be honest, I don't take that much shit. Like for some reason people like, I don't know if it's the wheelchair. No, it's always been kind of going like this. Maybe people just don't say it to my face, I guess. But I get a lot that, like, I don't know. It feels good. It definitely feels good to be in Possessed. You're not going to get rich, but I love playing music. As stupid as it sounds, I like making people happy, and rock out. And, I just want to give them their ticket price. I'm an entertainer by heart. Like I grew up with, people looking up to people like Elvis and Sammy Davis Jr. and, Wayne Newton and, like all the old hard rock bands, man. You'd look at them. I remember in my bunk beds, I had a giant Zeppelin poster that covered half the roof. I used to just stare up at the guys, Jimmy Page and jump on them, and I used to be, man, I want to be like that, right? Like, and just go into these fantasy worlds, man. And I think that I forget if I'm even on the topic anymore, but it's just, yeah, man. Like it feels good. Like it definitely feels good. And I still don't want to sell out. Like I would rather be poor than sell out. So
Oh yeah, like along that line of like when that came out around that time, you were right. No one was doing anything close to like what you guys were doing, like. But for me, like I've never really, because I've not come from like a time where you had to build that up. So like, in your opinion, what was it like having to develop that sound? Like, was it a case of you already sort of had the blueprint of what you wanted to achieve or what you wanted to do in your head, and you
very
just had to
much,
build on top of it? Or was
very
it
much.
just,
I met Mike Trout at the exact right time, man. It had to be ordained because nobody was thinking like us back then, man. Like everybody would walk up to that line, but they would not cross it. They would flirt with Satanism, but
hmm,
then, like Ozzy would be like, but Satan's evil, you know what I mean? Or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Like, fuck that. Like, why isn't anybody just going full Satan? Right. And yeah, man, like, and I was very much a weird kid too. Like I was reading a lot of the Bible, a lot of the yeah, at one point I wanted to be a priest, right? So but uh I was reading a lot of the Bible, but I kept gravitating towards Revelations because the shit is so wicked and far out, man. And the Bible is, it's essentially white magic, but which is turning blacker by the day, in my opinion. But I love that. As weird kids, like I wrote the lyrics to Burning in Hell when I was 11. Like I was just writing wicked shit, reading like Stephen King, Edgar Allan Poe, the complete works, like just everything I could get my hands on that was dark and heavy and evil, watching horror movies and just loving it, like that stuff's never freaked me out. And I just always gravitated towards that. I think I'm going off topic again, but
Oh no,
Yeah, go for
yeah,
it. We love
I was
tangents on this podcast.
yeah, I was just
I
about to
got,
say like I relate to that heavily, like because as a kid, my mum always thought I'd end up because like I'm completely different to like the rest of my family, like in terms of everything I'm into, and my mum once said to me, she was like, I'd always knew you'd turn out to be like different because like I'd be like that kid being like, oh, I want to fucking like fuck the football, like that fucking skull thing there. I want that. Or like I remember
yeah,
once I think I tried convincing my mum to let me buy like a fucking like a rat skeleton. We saw it in like a little shop, like a goth shop, and I was like, I want that. And my mum's like, you're not getting a rat skeleton. And I was there like, nah, I fucking want it. And like she was like, your fucking brother like wants to buy a football with like his birthday money. You're looking at a skeleton and you want that. Like what why do you want that? But I was always drawn to shit like that as well.
yeah. I think I have a beaver skeleton over here. At one point, I had a human skull. I had the arm and the hand, and I had all this like human bones that I had collected like throughout the universe, And I had this like altar in my room, like, and some of my Christian relatives, I can't go in Jeff's room, like I get a bad feeling. Like I love this shit. Like my walls were just all covered with the possessed flyers, and like I was the typical metalhead kid, when metal was new, that was like, it's funny because the shit we did just naturally, like you see it in like every teenager's house now. It's cool,
That's
but
so true.
I had great contemporaries, like, like, in the Bay Area back then, it was Exodus, then Metallica, right? And so every weekend, Exodus is playing Ruthie's, and once I hooked up with Gary, we were playing Exodus shows like a lot, like hundreds of shows, like so every week or two we'd go down to Ruthie's and play. It was our local haunt, and it was great. Like Ruthie's was like essentially the CBGBs of the West Coast. And that was a little shithole. Like the stage was like this high, and the sound system was decent, but it was small and crowded. I was in a very bad neighborhood, and Big O Tires was across the street, and we used to all park there and just party, man. Like just a lot of like drugs and alcohol, which was kind of a byproduct. It wasn't really about that. It was like it felt like you were part of a movement. Like you felt like we were really doing something. I'm not sure if we knew what we were doing, but and all the bands from we played with Merciful Fate there, Megadeth, Metallica, like everybody, Armored Saint, like Suicidal, like Corrosion of Conformity, like all the bands that you know of in metal have played Roosties, which was a trip, and that was right in our local haunt. And so it was like a mecca for burgeoning metal back then. And that day, like plagiarizing, like you couldn't sound like somebody else. You know what I mean? Like you definitely couldn't be cookie cutter because they would laugh you off the stage, man. Like straight up, you had to bring something new to the table. And so that was my contemporaries, and that's what really formed Possessed and the ideologies and the stage appearance and the topic and the Cookie Monster vocals and we were fast. We were just trying to go fast, fast, fast. And back then we called the blast beat cheaters. So we went as fast as we could without cheating. And so and I wish I would have thought of the blast beat. Punk bands were definitely doing it, but many times they didn't know where to put us, so they threw us in with punk bands. So it was always like punk and Possessed and the most extreme metal. But the media, like, they couldn't tell the difference between Venom Slayer and Possessed and Exodus. They just thought we were all the same shit. And so that was another real difficulty, a hurdle, because if you say you're death metal, they know you're thrash or you're black metal, or So Possessed has been black metal, we've been thrash metal, we've been death metal, but we've always identified as death metal. So, and I would say, like, even now, I still think of myself as a death metal band because
Oh yeah.
we were the first. We were the first, and I also think that death metal is more than just one thing. Like a lot of people say, no, well, death was the first death metal. Yes, death was definitely the creators of that Florida vibe. But remember, and I say this all the time. New York has its own vibe too. Look at the Asian suffocation, incantation, immolation, doing something completely different. Like to people like us, suffocation is completely different than death or possessed. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And it's definitely different than Slayer or Exodus, right? It's literally its own thing. Or you have the European vibe, or you have the Scandinavian vibe. You have the whole. Everybody brings something to the table with death metal, and I like that. From folk death metal to gothic death metal to 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 all. There's just so many flavors, and I think that as a genre, death metal needs to keep a wide access and a lot to draw on, or it will wither and die. Like if it was just one thing, if death metal was just Possessed, like it was in the beginning, it definitely wouldn't be a thing. I mean, so
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. I mean, like you said, if you look at like all these different death metal bands, especially like now as well, if you put you guys next to Septic Flesh, next to Morbid Angel, next to, Frozen Soul or something, like it's like four different genres entirely, but it's all we've got that death metal formula in there for sure.
yes, I love that whole vibe. I think that the kids in Ohio, I think the Ohio death metal scene really started with like Nunslaughter, since I have the Nunslaughter tattoo, because I
That
wrote
stuff.
I wrote the Thou Art the Kingdom of Hell. I wrote that song for them way back when, and and then they turned into that big brassy snare and the false chord vocals and that big they had like big singers, big brassy snares, and it was like they definitely. I love that vibe. Like that was like probably the most original shit that's coming to death metal in a long time. So
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
definitely. I
Oh
want to
yeah.
say like looking back like at the legacy that you've created and now we've got like an ever expanding death metal scene. Like is it crazy to look at like what came after that, because death metal came into black metal and like obviously we've got everything that we've got now. Like, is it kind of crazy thinking about sometimes?
is it crazy thinking about what?
Just
I'm
like
sorry, I
how
missed it.
much like death metal's expanded, since Seven Churches into Death and everything that came after it. Like
It
is it
is. It is. It is. But it's easy also to think it's bigger than it is. Like it could still go away. I'm telling you, because it almost went away with grunge. Everybody just got into that whole grunge movement. Everybody forgot about death metal, and you saw a lot of bands that essentially, well, I guess you could call it sold out, but started wearing spandex and poodling their hair, and you've seen a lot of bands go through a lot of transitions, and but yeah, I mean, death metal doesn't sell hundreds of thousands of albums like thrash metal. Death metal is very much a niche, and so I think that it takes. I'm still like super loyal to death metal because I don't want it to go away. We don't sell thousands of albums. We sell hundreds of albums that first week. You know what I mean? If we're lucky, it's not like it's not giant. It's not. I think that the highest grossing death metal band in history was Ultras of Madness. Morbid Angel with
yeah.
150,000 units, right? Which is super grandiose for death metal. But for anything else, it's not that much. But
Oh yeah.
for me, that's like a miraculous. Like I think that's the coolest shit. So
Oh yeah. I think like what gets me excited about like modern death metal now is like see it's like you've got hardcore kids that suddenly woke up and realized death metal were a thing and they've started their own like death metal bands and you're seeing this line between like hardcore and death metal like slowly thinning in and like it's making each one better because you're getting like hardcore kids listening to death metal making really sick hardcore tracks but then you've
yeah,
got
yeah,
death
yeah,
metal kids listening to hardcore and just making even better like death
yeah.
metal tracks. That's what gets me the most excited now about the modern day. 'Cause it's like the lines are so blurred where you're there, like, oh,
Yeah, yeah,
this is so sick to see. Like,
yeah. Well, like I say, originally they didn't know what to do with us, so they just threw us in with the punk bands, and you can't help but be like, oh, that shit's cool, right? And I swear that's what probably where the blast beat came from, because a lot of hardcore bands, they 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 kind of validated what I was doing as an artist, because you get around them, they have this kind of cathartic yelps, the vocals where they're just letting all that emotion out, right? And it's so cathartic. It's just like to me, like it's so primal, and it makes so much sense. Like to the layman, it seems silly, but to people that are involved in the scene, that shit is like you don't want to go out and like be a murderer after playing a death metal show. Like you're just like all those endorphins go out there, and I think it's really healthy in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
I've noticed like when I'm in like periods of like writing stuff, it's probably the best time. Like after that, probably the best time I ever feel like mentally. 'Cause it's like all the
Yeah,
shit that I've been just keeping up there that's been bugging me. It's all written down. I'm like, you
yeah,
know what? I can actually let go of that now. Like
yeah.
it's done. Like it's a full stop.
That's true. It's true. And it's becoming more diverse. I mean, um, there's definitely a lot of testosterone in death metal because, like, you know, it used to be all males, like seriously, all males. It was primarily like just a male thing, right? And so, and there's just so much testosterone, and what I don't want to see is for it to become like super toxic. You know what I mean? Like I think that politics are like infringing in metal in a lot of ways. Like you see these like, because I don't give a fuck who's president or anything like that, right? And I'm not saying you shouldn't sing about politics. I just wish, I'm kind of a purist. Like it should be about the music, and it shouldn't be about like oppression in any way. So
Oh yeah,
uh,
well that kind of like leads into my point, like well my next question really, because like as someone that's seen like literally the scene from the first like the beginning, what is like some of the most positive changes you've seen happen over the years, and what's like something that you would say is a bit more negative from like a band standpoint as well? Like what are some of those changes that you just witnessed?
I think a large part diversity. I see so much diversity. Like in the '80s, I would have never been able to get on stage in a wheelchair. I don't think in the '80s. Like I honestly think that we've grown as a people over the years. Like people are a lot more accepting. Uh, you know, even though you don't see too many people in wheelchairs, but I think for me, like I feel like lucky that people even accepted me because of that where I grew up. Where I grew up was very blue collar. It was very it was closed minded. It was that I had to go to church 3 times a week, and those kind of oppressions is probably the main reason I love metal so much, is because I don't like all that stuff. And now you're seeing like a lot of new faces, a lot of different colored people, a lot of women in death metal. You're just seeing it. I think it validates it as a genre, how much diversity is coming into it. And of course, with new diversity, new languages, new race creeds, whatever, you're going to get more diversity in the metal. You know what I mean? So I think it adds value. And so I think that, that diversity is directly responsible for a lot of the leaps and bounds. And I mean, diversity could be any color. It could be white, it could be black, it could be purple, whatever. But I think that people are as it gets bigger, it's taking in new territories, new mindsets, and growing as a genre. And for whatever, I'm not, and the negatives, uh, uh, the negatives, we could go, we could go either monetary, or we could go, you know, the it's really hard for me to badmouth that metal. I love it all because I can fix it. It's like when you start dating that crazy bitch. I can fix her.
Yeah, it's
But
like
that's
there's a
death
lot,
metal.
but I can fix it.
Death metal is that crazy fine bitch that you want to fix. So
That's a
Yeah,
good analogy.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
actually that is a really good. It's like there's a few red flags, but guys, I can iron that out, you know. And
There's
it
like
in like it
35 red flags. There's
yeah
only like 35 red flags. Like if I can get rid of 15, I'll be happy.
She
yeah
said
it's like
something nice to me once.
She's got a
yeah
great ass, you know. No,
yeah it's just like yeah we get rid of at least like 10 of these. It's a solid go. Do you know what I mean? Like it is. What I will marry her, like sort of thing. But yeah,
but
it's a great.
I definitely hear shit, especially in America, where everybody is so Trump or Biden or whatever. And I'm like, wow, like how come everything turns political? Like, and it's always like I feel like everybody's just reading the same script, right?
Mm.
Which is the exact opposite. Conformity is like I thought death metal was like it's more anti-conformity. It's more like you know like getting out of that cage, right? And I feel like everybody's just trying to jump in the cage, lock the door, and swallow the key sometimes. You know?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
oh yeah.
definitely. I think like what I don't know. I feel like this day and age, like even to when I was a bit younger, to be honest, like I feel like everything's so political based now, like that. You know, everyone's like got a side or something, and it's like I think it's probably because of social media, because it's just like constant this propaganda from any side, like you know, just always in your face. So people just like hop on the bandwagon and just like you know they'll read one article, you know, fall for the clickbait, and then they'll automatically form an opinion with no value, but. Yeah,
That's
I think it's
true.
definitely an issue. It's an issue for sure, and I don't think it's got a place in metal really or hardcore or anything like that.
Yeah, you like yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, I grew up in San Francisco, which is really liberal, you know. So it's like I think a lot of people have never like seen gay people or trans people or like people of color or like and that works both ways. It works for from darker countries to lighter countries and lighter countries to darker countries and more liberal countries and more conservative countries and states and towns. And so when you throw everything together, okay, and that's not a bad thing. Like we're, you know, the word ethnocentric, right? The way that you grow up, you're taught how to, like if you're in North America, odds are you grew up in a Christian world, right? And
Mm.
so you base your values from birth being raised by that set of values and that set of standards. So when you go to see something that's different than that, it seems weird. You know what I mean? Like the first time I went to Germany, I was like, these motherfuckers are weird. Like, and but then you know, I don't even know how many times I've been to Europe now. I realized they're just smart and it's a different culture, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it sounds so stupid to even say it out loud. But and then you know, because I think that traveling and really you know just paying attention is just as good as a college degree. Like if you keep an open mind, you can learn shit. If you already know the answer, then just stay the fuck off the internet.
Yeah, I feel
Nobody
like
knows
it
the answer.
it
Nobody knows
broadens
the
the
answer.
mind for sure. Like
Yeah,
traveling and like seeing other cultures and stuff. I think it definitely like broadens it as opposed to like reading about it. Like, no, I completely agree with that.
yeah. Nobody knows the answer because the answer is different to everybody. You know? So
Oh yeah, and I think because
I had this one dream, like when I was trying to write, you know, I get really like method sometimes. And I was like, what if like, yeah, and this is all hypothetical because, you know, I'm not Christian. What if like the mind of God like shattered in some sort of, you know, like from, you know, like some catastrophic injury leading to a complete and utter mental collapse? What if the mind of God shattered and then the only way to get it back together and reach heaven was to put all the shattered parts back together, you know? And so,
That's cool. That.
yeah, yeah.
that's a
That'd be a good
This
movie
God
as
concept
is like
well.
right there.
it's like a schizophrenic, you know. He's like a, yeah, he's fucked up, you know. He's gone crazy, and the only way to make it uncrazy is through it's you know love and compassion, man. You know, trying to understand, trying not to weird out on shit that you're not used to. You know?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, like
definitely, definitely.
I think like because it's metal's so like expanding and there's so many different people that can like it, you get the headbutt because it's like a lot of people do butt heads because it's like there'll be people from completely different backgrounds that are like into the same thing, and like so one person what's normal might not necessarily be the same to that other person. So it's just going to
That's
cause
true.
immediate, just like, hang on, well, that's not what I think. And
Yeah,
I think a lot of people need to get past
which
that
is
sort
so
of initial
unhealthy.
difference.
It's so unhealthy as an artist, you know. It'd be like if you heard jazz and went, no, it sucks. You know, like
Oh, yeah.
that's not normal. Like as
Yeah,
an
I agree.
artist, like you're trying to glean and take in everything, right? Like you can't say like, oh, I don't like Ethiopian music, or I don't like Muslim music, or I don't like blast beats, or I don't like punk, or I don't like jazz, or I don't like you can't be that way. And you think that and I blame it on the non-artists. No, I'm just kidding. No, because usually an artist is pretty open-minded, man, because you want to learn new shit.
Oh, yeah,
Definitely,
definitely.
definitely. I want to get into like obviously the writing because I know you've told us that you write in, and I'm obviously pretty stoked for when it comes out. But can you let us know about the album that you're working on now? Because I mean, like at least last like Revelations of Oblivion was like my personal favorite Possessed record. I think it's like you guys on absolute top form. So what can we expect from the next one? Is it going to sound a bit like that, or are you taking it a different direction? What's the
I think it sounds different. It's a lot different. But like I said, I'm only 3 songs into the lyrics. We have 7 songs written musically. We have 3 more to go. And after we hang up now, I'll be yelling in my microphone. So 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 I'm really I was trying to get really experimental yesterday, and like I just failed. I just wasted the entire day. I mean, at first I was like, "This is great." I was like, "Oh fuck!" So like, I don't know if people know this about Possessed, but like 90% of what I do ends up on the scrap room floor. So what I'll do is I'll literally hit record and start like freestyling and try to do whatever. And then if something's good, I'll save it and re-record it and fuck with it. You know what I mean? But I like it. I like the hit play and sing method. So, but I never really know what's gonna be created until it's created. Like when I pick up my bass, I have no idea what I'm gonna do, and I just fiddle around until that sounds good, and I work with that. And it's the creation of that. That's the best thing about music to me is that I could sit here in my room in my bed and fuck with my bass on my guitars, and then people in the world will be like, "Oh, that's cool," or "That sucks," or whatever. But it's weird that you can create. It's like pulling a rabbit out of your hat. You know what I mean? Like, and it's always thrilling. It's always terrifying. And I don't know. I never know if people are going to hate it or love it. So. And this
oh,
next
excited
one,
though?
I really feel like I'm on that tightrope. I don't know if they're going to love it or hate it. So far, the people that heard it said that's really good, but it's hard to tell because when you're me, everybody just tells you everything's good. So I but I do have a few key friends that are like on that part yesterday. Nah, like I was like, okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So, usually I'm not influenced by anybody. I'm pig-headed, but that like I said, that part just sucked. And so I'm trying to like recover from that.
Oh, yeah.
It took
Yeah.
a huge chunk out of my confidence. So I got to get that back today.
It's good
Oh,
though
yeah.
to have those kind of friends and stuff there, because like I guess if say for example, if you put your album out and you get people commenting on social media, oh, this is shit. Like, they're obviously the people you don't want to listen to because it means nothing really. But like, if you've got that friend that like, I remember back in the day when I was in university and I was doing a lot of like photo editing and video editing, and I'd send it to my friend Michael, and he'd be like, oh, that's shit. But I'd listen to him because I knew that usually he would be hit the mark, and I'd do it again, and he's like, oh, that's good now. But yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely hurts a bit. Like no matter how many times, criticism always hurts like a bitch at first. But then when you get it right, you get it right, and it's perfect.
My daughter's great at that. Like she'll expect, yeah, no, yeah. And she's like 100%, 100 for 100. So.
Oh, yeah.
But
Brad's that.
I still keep all the shit I scrap because like Revelations was in part some of the scraps from, other songs, but I think that it wouldn't be doing a part justice just to throw it away. The challenge is to make the part better and good enough.
Oh, yeah. Like, Brad's that friend for me. Like every demo I've ever written has gone to Brad pretty much as soon as they've exported it. Just be like, just to see if we're actually cooking with gas or we're actually just polishing a turd. Like, so it's just like, just send it to Brad. If I get Yeah, I'm not feeling that. It's like, okay,
You're
give
gonna
up
have to
on
give
it.
me Brad's number so I can run some shit by him.
Honestly, you know, he's a really good shit filter because like every time I've either been like, yeah, good point, or if he's gone back that shit, I'm like, okay, but what about it shit? And he's like, this bit, this bit, this bit, and I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, yeah, those were the bits I was also thinking were
I
shit.
I always try and keep it like constructive though, you know what I mean? I'll give like some feedback. Not that I'm not even a musician really, but I know like what I like, and I'll always say, oh, I think this could be like this, and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's true. And that's another thing. A lot of and you can't you this is a really hard thing to compete with is a lot of kids like they think the entire music scene is the nightclub they go down to downtown, you know. They think that represents the entire world, right? So they'll have their favorite bands and you can't tell them that anything is better than their favorite band, right? But like you can like more than one
True.
band.
Oh
You can
yeah,
like several bands, you know what I mean? So
oh yeah,
yeah.
like there's a big thing with that. Like I got really into like the local scene of stuff like here, and like I'm trying to get all my friends more into it because I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, it's not just about going to the O2 to see like a band that sold out like a thousand cap venue. Like some of these bands are fucking playing to 50 people and they're fucking sick. Like you
Those
need
are
to
the
check them
best
out.
gigs. Those are the best gigs because you cannot fake it in front of 13 people. I have played the smallest shows, like I mean, I have played tiny shows, like because remember for the first three albums, I didn't make one penny off of any of the gigs, off of any of the albums, right? Because back then, I'm going to kind of paraphrase what Blackie Lawless said too, because this is something we all been through. If you were lucky enough to get signed on a major, I'm going to drift off here, between like say 78 and 92, right? You were essentially in indentured servitude for 5 years, right? You had to work your ass off, album every year with with the little teasers in the middle, and you literally were under ironclad contract every year, and you had to tour, and you didn't make any money. But then when those 5 years are over, you were almost guaranteed a career in the industry. So, and it's not like that anymore. So
Oh yeah,
it
like
is a little. It is a little though. But but
oh yeah, what like we've spoke to like bands that have like gone independent because they were signed to a label, but like they'll put you in like a 1 year thing. You don't do well in that 1 year, you're off the label, so you have to find someone else.
yeah,
So a lot of
a
people
lot of
just
kids
go,
will pay for
fuck it.
free.
Oh
A lot
yeah,
of
like
kids will pay for free, and that's probably our fault because we were so desperate to get some sort of notoriety that we would do anything. So
oh yeah, like there's so many bands that just went fuck it. I can do most of this on my own. It's only like I think now a lot of labels are there for touring and like vinyl mainly, but like a lot of people just figuring it out. Where I was like, I could probably do that myself. Like there's so many bands that like now you're like they're independent, they're fucking giant. Like
oh yeah, Venom was in Guinness Book of World Records. I think they were the highest grossing independent record, with black metal. I think they sold like 1.5 million units, and so they were huge. Metallica would open for Venom back in the day.
that'd be a sick show to
Yeah,
see.
Metallica, Merciful Fate,
Yeah.
and Venom. Venom was over both those, which is crazy, right? Like
So yeah,
it's
Oh
so I think
crazy.
like Metallica now, like it's hard, obviously, especially for me and Nathan to imagine, because even since we've been born, Metallica has been like the biggest metal
Huge.
band in the world. It's
And
crazy
I
to
know
think.
those guys. I grew up with those guys. Kirk Hammett lived right around the corner from me. I'd ride my skateboard to his house and knock on his door. I was in love with his sister, Jennifer. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Nice.
Yeah,
Do
Kirk is.
what's like some of your fondest memories from that time? I know we talked about a few already, but I want to hear like more. Like, what do you have like a certain memory that comes back to you that was like, oh, that was the best time?
With Metallica or with anybody?
Does anybody?
Oh, I mean, like I say, we were so driven, man. Like, and I still am. I mean, like, possessed is everything to me, and music is everything to me. Like, I just love being a part of the scene, like I always have. Like I don't want to do anything else. I mean, I did go to college and I worked in a hospital and retired. I did the whole white picket fence thing, and and my intentions were to be a lawyer, but I fell in love with a beautiful girl and had my kids and took a break and did what I had to do to get myself back after the injury. And then, but I always come back. I came back, what, 17, 18 years ago into, like my second breath of air is longer than most people's career. But, I've been here playing music since 79, like, I just don't want to do anything else. I love it. I love the people. And like I say, online things might be toxic, but as soon as you see people in person, everything's cool. You know what I mean?
That's so
Everybody's
true.
just so we don't want to get mixed up with. And by the way, if people hate you on the internet, that doesn't affect record sales at all. Not at all. Not one iota. If anything, it helps it. You know what I mean? Like it's like people are so afraid to get canceled. Like, remember, Possessed got its name before the internet. Like it doesn't matter, man. All that shit really doesn't matter. The reason I like being on the internet is because I like staying in touch with people. I like talking about metal, and I like the good things, and I could give a shit. Like I don't worry about the bad things. Like, and I think it's important to remember that metal is not focusing on the bad things. It's being free. It's a respite. It's a bastion of uncivilization away from the corporate cocksucking typical run of the mill everyday average bastard world. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah, yeah.
it's heaven. It's heaven to me. Like I'm not even gonna lie. If I'm at a dirty, crowded show, half fucked up on too many beers, like that shit's heaven to me. So
Yeah,
I
it's
could do
like one
that.
big dysfunctional family, isn't it?
Mhm. It's what
Like one big dysfunctional family.
it is. It literally is like heaven. I don't think if there was an afterlife, that heaven could top it. You
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
that sounds weird, but it's true. It's
I agree.
that's my Shangri-La. Like you can't get any better. Like the Christians come and try to save me. Like you don't fucking know. You don't know
No, I'm
what I
fine
have.
here.
You wish you were me. No,
Yeah.
and like in Possessed, I'm not gonna lie, man. They treat me really well. Like I get treated like a fucking prince, man, and I love it, dude. Like because I love people, right? And when people respect you, you respect them back. What is fucking greater than that? I don't understand why people get wrapped up in so much hate when it could be this good. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I think we all have that too.
Oh yeah. Well, like walking into like for me, like walking into a show, there's like nowhere I feel more comfortable in my own
Yeah,
skin. Like that's what's great about it. It's like yeah, I like you can probably talk to everyone there about
yeah.
something, and like it's
There's no
just
shit.
yeah, like there's no one that's just gonna go fuck off. Yeah, I mean, if you like a band, they like that's a friend for the entire evening or maybe
Sure.
even longer. Like, I mean, that's what's
Yeah.
great
And
about it.
there are definitely rules. There are definitely rules. And everybody knows the rules. If you follow the rules, you get your ass kicked. Like if you don't, like you can't do certain shit. Everybody knows the rules. You don't have to like if the rules are already enforced. Like if somebody's bigger than you, that dude could kick your ass, right? Like it's simple, right? Like everything's simple in metal. Like everybody has their place, and but I call it a whole group of nonconformists, like because there's so many different backgrounds. It's like a hodgepodge of like, oh, I'm in IT. Oh, no, I'm in, like there's so many different people that are the same. It's crazy. It's like I don't know. Like I think we accomplished what Christianity couldn't, what religion couldn't. You know what I mean? Like that
I
sounds so
agree.
arrogant. It does. Yeah.
No, yeah, like, absolutely. But honestly, like, I agree. Like, me and Nathan go to like Bloodstock Festival every year. Like, that's like our place.
Oh, that's a
It
great
sounds.
festival.
Oh no, I saw you guys there, and it was fucking insane. Honestly, one of my favorite shows. It was great. But like,
That
yeah,
that
Blood.
show was good.
Yeah, it was so good.
When I was playing that show, I was like, "Fuck, this sounds pretty good." yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I was like,
honestly, it
"Yeah,
was it was amazing. Honestly, I loved seeing you guys. But like, yeah, Bloodstock Festival, like, every time it sounds cheesy, but it feels like you're coming home, like, and then when you go back to your actual home, it's like, oh, it feels like I'm on a long holiday till Bloodstock comes back around. But you go there,
yeah,
everyone's like super nice. You catch up with like friends I haven't seen for ages. Like, we got to meet our friends in Bangers and Mosh podcast like last time we were there, and like, even though we've never met in person before. Like, but we spoke online so many times, and then it's like meeting up with like an old friend that we've known for ages. And then, we got to meet up with some bands that we spoke to on the podcast that were, quite close. And
That's so
now it's just amazing, man.
home is a holiday.
Yeah.
That'd be a good t-shirt. Home is the place you have to go back to every once in a while, so you have a place to stay away from. No,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Like
yeah, I
that
love being on tour.
oh yeah, like that week after Bloodstock is like the worst week because I'll go back because I work in
That's cool.
IT. I'll go back to the corporate life and I'm there like, ah. Yeah, I mean, there's just like a gut wrenching feeling that goes over me
Yeah,
where I'm like, if I had a time machine, I'd just roll it back a week.
man.
Like,
When I was working at the hospital, like there were some days, almost every day, where I'd just be in my cubicle going, "Fuck this!" This can't be it. You know what I mean? This is what normal people do. Oh fuck this. Oh yeah, this sucks. If I didn't have two babies and a house mortgage, like I wouldn't be here. Like this fucking sucks. I'm making lots of money, but is it worth it? And the minutes, it would seem like they would go backwards, man. I was like, some of those days just drug on forever, dude. Like, and then towards the end of my work, I just like started going on tour and like I started getting sick too, but I couldn't go to work. I wasn't. It was making me physically ill. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't do it. And once you're free, you can't go back.
But you think
There's
like
no
even when
net.
you were do you think like when you were doing like, the hospital job and stuff, like was possessed always at the back of your mind, like every day?
Oh, definitely. I was a fucking has been because I wasn't playing, right? And and uh, I remember I was at a doctor's appointment and we were talking to some guy. He was kind of an asshole, but I'm a chit chatty guy. And somehow he's like, "Well, what's with the long hair?" And I was like, "Yeah, I used to be in a band called Possessed. We are the first death metal band." He goes, "You're a fucking liar." It was Chuck Schuldiner. It's like, "Oh, well, fuck you then too." No, no, but I was like, shit, like I can't, like it was weird. Like I felt like I was drowning in like I lost part of my life. Like there was always that pinhole of like to go back and play music and like it sounds so dumb from the outside, but like we say, it's a world. It's like my heaven. You know what I mean? Like I can't leave that. Like you know hopefully like I'll be able to do it longer because I now that I've had this operation and I'm trying to get back and do it full time and I might have a really big tour coming up so we're opening up for a couple bigger bands so hopefully that will be announced not in Europe though. I'm going to do the States and then I'm going to do South America but I got to get back to Europe soon. I
Yeah,
love
comes
Europe.
yeah.
And a lot of Americans are starting to do the European style festivals, which is
Yeah.
crazy cool.
No,
But America
absolutely.
doesn't have tenants like Europe. Europe is like so metal, like look at Wacken, look at Bloodstock. Like there's like tens of thousands of people showing up. Like we just don't do that in America for some reason. It's weird. Unless you're Metallica.
oh yeah, like honestly, like it's really like the more I've traveled like round Europe, the more I've been like, there's a lot of people that like the same music as me, like in these continents. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so odd where you're there. Like, why is it so like fixed here? Like, it feels like it's like we
I
can't
felt
walk
like
5 minutes. Oh,
I
God.
felt like in a way, like American bands got a lot of respect in Europe. It was almost unfair to like German thrash and stuff. Like they had to compete with Americans. And Americans are idiots, but for some reason, people, I don't know if it's the same now, but back in the 80s, like American thrash was the shit. You know what I mean? And then, well, but the reality was it was a very small niche of people, right? But I was going to get a shirt that says "I'm big in Europe," you know, because it was like you go over there and be a complete rock star and then come back home and nobody knows who you are. So, but I love Europe. I wouldn't care if the whole world was into extreme metal. Like it can't be big enough for me. I don't think there's any way for extreme metal to sell out as long as it's still extreme metal. You know what I mean? Like I don't
No.
think it can be. It's never gonna. I don't think it will ever be like like millions of albums. Like it would be nice if it became economically viable, but it's so hard to believe this, but normal people don't listen to extreme metal.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think I think that's what's like really is the best part about it in a way because like
Yeah,
you know that people who are into it or making music in it are there for because they like it. That's why I never get the poser shit or anything like that. I'm like, nah, they're here, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no money in this. They're not making much money. Like, they're
and
about
if
this
you do
shit.
make money, then you've sold out. You know, so
Oh yeah,
like metalheads don't like rich metalheads.
Ain't that the truth though?
It's true. Like, fuck, yeah. Like you got a turntable? Nope. Sorry, fucking you pushing too many samples? Nope. Okay. Like with me, I'm such a gatekeeper. Like I'll go, no. Like I'll listen to like the first like 20 seconds of a band and like instantly be like, nope. Like because you can tell exactly where they're going. But some bands I really, really love, you know. I think I love more bands than I hate bands. Like I don't understand how people like pop music. I don't understand why popular music is popular. And I think I missed the boat on that. I'm like, this is not good. Like, I mean, it's good and it's all happy and shit, but it's so Disney. You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's. I listened. Definitely listened. Like, this is I'm kind of ashamed to say, but like I like bands. Like I do like 21 Pilots for some reason. It's fun, you know.
They are good to
Like
be fair.
especially if I'm like drinking or whatever, I'll be like stressed out. I could completely relate with that, right? But I noticed that some pop bands, like I've never really heard Drake. This is I've only heard Slipknot a couple times because I was passing a radio. Like I've been meaning to listen to them. It's not that I hate them or I'm disrespecting them. I'm very narrow. Like I haven't heard a lot of bands. Like I just don't like I like the bands that are up and coming more than the bands that are already established and I don't know what I'm trying to say. I
I
just I like extreme music. You know?
oh yeah,
So
like
the dirtier the better.
like the bands that are up and coming though, they're the ones that are like fucking hungry. So
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
like throwing everything in there. Like the bands that have like already established, like they're like, yeah, well, we could just do like that album again, and people are gonna get it. Like, whereas like the ones that are like really trying, they're like, no, 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 it has to be full fucking gas all the fucking time. We need to do
It's like
this. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like the original Stratocaster uh, compared to the Japanese stamped ones. You know, well, they actually make them all by hand, but the ones that are hanging like 30 on the Guitar Center wall compared to the first ones. You know, like I like I feel like the up and coming bands are always like the first ones, like where everybody's taking care to mold it and do everything, and also like it's hard to like glean inspiration from somebody who's like super wealthy or rich or successful because they're talking about business and making money and stuff. And the people that are up and coming are talking about music and the craft. You know? And that's where, you know, that's where I like to draw inspiration as these kids coming up and they're saying, oh, you know, they're asking me for advice. But in the meantime, I'm like, there's something infectious about that desire to be known and to get your music out there. You know?
Yeah, I'm
uh,
gonna ask actually, what like is there any like up and coming bands in like the death metal scene that you like are really rapping and you're like, oh, these guys are doing it well, like in your opinion?
Go ahead. You didn't put me on the spot. Uh, Well, I mean, I know some bands that are still very, very fresh and new and rough. I see a lot of potential. Like there's these kids that I was watching the other day on TikTok called Ominous Moon, and like there's something about them. The kids are just like super metal. Like they're very young and they're very rough, but I see potential in them. Like they're already like doing that kind of dirty rock metal, you know, like a kind of a Motorhead uh, uh, you know, like like they're not trying to just play fast, but they're like a Venom Motorhead type inspired, and I just like that shit, you know. And you know, there's a thousand. And a lot of the bands that I said were going to be famous are already famous though. Like I said, like because everybody's new to me, right? Like everybody. I think of bands that are OGs as new bands, like, you know, because I'm old. But yeah, there's a lot of great bands out there. I knew Frozen Soul was going to get big. I knew that, and they
Yeah,
blew up.
that's so cool.
I knew that Crypto was going to get big because they're impossible not to love. Like the writing's good. They put so much into their stage show, like uh, and they're like probably like 5 times bigger than Possessed now. Like they went just skyrocketed, right? And I had some dude. I'm going to change the subject because I'm trying to think of bands, and I don't want to Google it, but there's a lot of bands out there. Usually, a lot of the bands that tour with and the bands opening up, that's usually the bands I like. So just look at
Oh
the
yeah, man.
Oxford pictures. Because I will literally put people that I like that are up and coming as the opening band. So, but what was I saying? Oh man, I lost that though. Oh, somebody the other day said I was saying, "Wow, Crypto's really blowing up. They're representing like a movement. Like they're really making things normal. Like like if you talked about women in metal, I think that Crypto's like the motorhead of that movement. You know what I mean? Like if you think of women in metal, and he said, well, the only reason that they're even popular is because they're girls. I go, well, I mean, you could say that about guys too. Like, the only reason that Black Sabbath is popular is because they're guys, they're dudes. And it's like,
Yeah, that's just a
just right.
baseless statement to say. Like I spoke to Luana from Crypto, and she's like, the drummer of the band, and she told me like she's been drumming since she was 12. I'm just like, yeah,
Oh my
definitely not
God.
'cause women. I mean, she's been when she was drumming at 12, I was like playing with Pokemon cards, so she knows her shit for sure.
Yeah, their riffs are tasty, man. They're like they're super like they're like Slayer, like impossible not to love. You know what I mean? Like yeah.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I
like
think Possessed is very, very difficult to love. Like we're like that last jigsaw puzzle that doesn't quite fit, so you're trying to jam it in, you know? Yeah, so we're Possessed is an awkward band, so
oh yeah, like
so
I
definitely.
definitely I definitely like agree with like the well, I definitely never got the argument when people go, "Oh, they're only big because they're girls," because it's like that's like if you took Type A Negative and just went, "Well, they only got big because Peter Steele's a good-looking guy." You're like,
Yeah.
I'm just pretty sure there's a lot in between that that's like you're just ignoring. Like,
In America, they're like 3% or 1.5% of the people are infecting the entire United States. Like what? No. Like if you take somebody like almost a fringe group of metal and say, "Oh yeah, well they have an unfair advantage," right? You're like, "What?"
it's
Like
like,
that
yeah,
makes no
it
fucking
makes no
sense.
sense. Like, like that's not the argument. Like, if you listen to them,
The
they're fucking
most
great.
heavily discriminated faction of metal is fucking getting somewhere. I don't like it. No, just kidding. People are starting to get ahead in life, man. Fuck them. They're taking away from me. Like, bro, like, no, like, come on. Like, nobody takes away from Jeff Becerra. Like, people can succeed all they want. I'm still going to be Jeff Becerra, right? I'm not that fucking delicate.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
man. So we got one last question for you. If you're transported back in time to the 80s and you're in a zombie apocalypse for some reason, or demons from hell, and you had to pick 4 people to survive the zombie apocalypse with from that era, who would you have
Oh,
picked?
fuck. I don't really trust anybody, so that's hard. Um, somebody that half my friends would probably kill me and eat me. Uh, let's see. 4 friends. Hmm. I definitely picked Gary Holt because he's fucking funny uh, and cool. Uh, uh, can they be alive or dead? Or
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
alive or dead.
I'd probably put Lemmy in there just because you'd have to have somebody to party with, right? Mm, oh my goodness. Am I one of the 4? I'll have to pick 4.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, you'll be one of them.
oh
Yeah, one
shit,
of the 4.
I'd probably just take my band. So we continue, right? So when it was over, we'd have hella fucking material. So yeah, I would take my
Yeah,
band
no, I
and
love that.
Gary.
Yeah,
Oh,
Brandon
my
Gary.
band, Gary and Lemmy. So they would have to like break a pool stick and fight for a spot.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you for coming on, Jeff. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. It's
Thank
one of
you.
those like Wayne's World moments before we came on, like we're not worthy. But it's like
Uh,
it's honestly been so fun and nice to go on these tangents with you. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It was an honor and a blessing to be on here, man. Stay
Oh
blessed,
yeah.
stay possessed. Love you guys, man. Thank you.
Thank you,
Oh
man.
yeah.
Like honestly, like it would, yeah, like what Brad said, like it was genuine an honor, like to get you on because when Brad messaged me, being like, "Oh, I'm trying to book like Possessed on, like, what do you think? Do you want to, like, what time do you want to do it?" I'm like, "Fucking any time, and I'll
Yeah.
clear the calendar."
And I'm not
Like,
even I'm not even doing interviews now. Like you guys were persuasive. Like I felt guilty. I was like, I gotta write an album. Okay, I'll put it. I was like, then you guys are really endearing, and I was like, okay, I have to do this. So it was cool. Yeah.
yeah, like
And I
Thank you.
wish
honestly, it
you,
was.
yeah, thank you, man. It's like, that sounded snobby. That came out wrong. It's
No,
an
it's all good.
honor to be here. That's what I'm going to say.
Thank you, man.
And I wish you all the success in all your endeavors. So,
Oh, thank you, man. Like honestly, I was telling every single friend, it's like, right, guess who the next guest is? I'll give you a clue.
oh, I do the same fucking thing. I'm
Like,
like, I'm like, yeah, I got to do an interview on bears, and like, I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, it's like a little, like a. I talking to a chick last night, and I was like, oh yeah, I got an interview in the morning. Because that's what metalheads do. Like we fucking flex. So
oh yeah, like I was telling people at work, they're like, they're obviously like into metal, and I was there like, trust me, pretty big deal.
that's funny. Yeah, I mean that's what being an artist is about. Like the day you stop getting interviews is like that's a scary thought. Like if I
Yeah.
play too many cruise ships in Indian casinos, I start to feel like, oh shit, like but if you have people that are interested, that's a good thing. So yeah, I mean that's it. Like you've made it when people want to put you on their podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, like I said, thank you for, taking the time to do it. I know that you're not doing interviews at the moment and you're focused on writing, but yeah, super appreciate it. And so I can't wait to listen to the album. I've been like hungry for more since Revelations of Oblivion, so let's get
Yeah, me too. We're lagging bad. Yeah.
it.
I'll do my best for sure.
Amazing. Right, well, take care, man. All the best. And yeah,
Okay.
hopefully we'll see you in the UK at some point.
Yeah, I'll be back.